Okay. Well, that's not going to win us any races. Now, the next question is do we have to move all these fuel lines? Well, yes, but by how much? Okay, Finn, watch out. Okay, so we're not going to be trying to take this in. And this is a good time for a little stick action. So, I'm going to have to switch to leathers here. Alright, well the frame repair work is coming along just fine. No real surprises there in terms of the rework being done. Just once I stopped finding rot, we were okay. This was the initial reason why we went into this, was this shock mount had totally rusted out. And this sums up a lot of what I see in older vehicles around here. A lot of vehicles here have a pretty decent rust proofing on the underside. But when the rust proofing does break down, the results are pretty bad pretty quick. They're pretty catastrophic. So one thing I've learned with doing shock mounts is to build them heavier duty than you think. The factory seems to know the minimum amount of metal they can use, and in a precise engineered way how they can use it. Replicating it with the same gauge of metal they use just is not a good recipe for success. So because this is a Jeep and Jeeps can be used a little more enthusiastically than some other types of vehicles, like, say, a minivan. It's getting a replacement shock mount made out of 1/4-inch steel. So the detail on the side here is so that we can wrap over the frame and tie in with the gusset plate that's already on the frame. The idea behind that is that if we stop this right on the edge of the formed edge of that box tube frame, we have to worry about creating a stress issue. I don't really like welding right on the corners of frame rails unless I'm doing something else that's going to increase the inherent strength of the assembly. I feel that the heat affected zone that it creates there is right on a stress point. And although it's not a failure I've seen in person, it's something that I am aware of. So like I was saying earlier, I have done shock mounts quite a few times. It seems that the manufacturers just cannot figure out how to make a shock mount that's not also a bucket for salt and gravel and grime and all that good stuff. I think that's why they rust out a lot quicker. Next thing I need to do is I need to weld this fillet weld right in here. And then I need to salvage this shock stud because this is actually still in fine shape. It's not worn out. This stud's got a lot of life left on it. It just happens to be welded to a piece of junk. And that brings up an important point that I should mention. Some of the ways that I have had failures in the past is I have built the shock mount with the same gauge that the manufacturer used. I found that is not really good for durability. Other ways I've had issues is I have used bolts in an application like this, and I want to just quickly show this. You can see in this end here we have a steel sleeve. Some shocks have this in both ends. Some shocks don't have them at all. Generally speaking though, you will see steel sleeves more often than not. Then we look in this end here and we just have a plain polyurethane bushing. There's no steel sleeve on the inside. If you're going to use a bolt, you should really get a piece of DOM tubing, get something machined down. If you can't find something that's going to fit, make a sleeve over that bolt, because what will happen is if you just use just the threaded bolt and it goes through a steel sleeve, the sleeve's going to beat the crap out of that bolt. You're going to have a bit of slop happen, and it's going to happen pretty quick, like within a number of months. And then every time you go over a bump, you hear clunk clunk. If you run just a normal bolt through the polyurethane only side, the bolt itself will be fine, but it's going to chew up the polyurethane real bad, and you're going to feel it in your feet every time you go over any type of bump. So a proper shock bolt or stud will have a large boss like this for the bearing load, which then protects the polyurethane on the inside there. So we're going to cut this off. It's in fine shape. Just clean it up a little bit, salvage it, and weld it on there. One of the reasons why we're going to save it is because it already has this offset built into it. This little offset ring right here, or the shoulders, is actually fairly important. Gives the clearance that we need at the top of the shock. So yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll attach it to this and put it back on the Jeep. We should be good to go. And we're just going to grind off this old weld, get some good metal, clean up our stud itself, and weld her up. stud to be reused. One last thing we'll do, we're going to weld the stud like this on. Air compressor. When welding the sucker on, leave a nut on the end like that. That way if we ground it out, if it grounds out down through the tip, we don't have to worry about it taking the threads out with it. So if it's resting on the table like that, and it happens to ground out through that tip instead of through here, you can arc off some threads, and then you gotta repair threads. You throw a nut on it, you don't have to worry about it. I need to maintain that offset, more or less. She's a little hot, but alright, well, we got a piece going up here. Full penetration on the backside. It's important sometimes. This would be one of those times. It's ready to go in, so we'll throw that in. Yeah, onward. Alright, good stuff. Okay, that'll keep them safe. Alright, well that was our delivery person. Bring in our muffler that's going on the YJ. Decided to give the Thrush Turbo a try. There's so many different ones out there, but the Thrush is it's kind of one of the more iconic sounds. And right now it's got a Flowmaster on it. The Flowmaster has sort of seen the end of its life. The welded chamber design of the Flowmaster really seems to suit V8s quite well in terms of sound. So hopefully the turbo is it's not too raspy, but we'll give it a go. If we don't like it, we can always put something else on. We'll see. Did I mention it's 5 degrees and raining? Okay. So when I can find a weak spot in a frame where the sidewalls are still fine, the corners of the frame are fine, just a little bit of something got inside and sat there and collected moisture. This is how I end up patching. I go right up on each side like that, and then I just weld that in. Windy out today. This is exactly what I want to see. I want to see that it's wetted in nicely at the toes here. There's zero undercut on the frame. We don't want undercut because that's going to propagate cracks in the future. And this frame here, this is solid stuff, so no worries about that. Then we weld out through our corners. Each of these seams gets welded out, and we clean it up and get it ready for paint. I'm using a 7018 rod today. 7018 is an excellent all-around good purpose rod. It has a reduced chance of hydrogen embrittlement, and it has a good tensile strength match to the frame material here. This frame's probably going to be in the 50,000 psi range, and that's not going, I haven't looked that up, so don't quote me on that, but 7018 has a 70,000 psi strength, so we're not too far off. Alright, so we're done our frame repairs. Got our shield back in place here. And of course we're not going for show finish here. At the end of the day, this is an off-road buggy. So really the only bad spot left of rust on here is the floor pan on the driver's side. So that, well, that's the carpet right under the floor mat. So, yeah, that needs a little attention too.